and that en route we could visit Granny, who had moved from Natchez to Jackson, Mississippi. As the word fell into my mother's lips, a long and heavy anxiety lifted for me. Excited, I rushed about and gathered my ragged clothes. I was leaving to head home, hungry, fear, leaving days that we had been as dark and lonely as death. When I was packing, a playmate came to tell me that one of my shirts was hanging down on the clothesline. Filled more with the sense of coming freedom than with generosity, I told her that we could have it. What was that shirt to me now? The children stood about, watching with envious eyes as I crammed my things into a suitcase. But did I not notice them? The moment I had learned that I was to leave my feelings recoiled so sharply and quickly from the home that the children simply did not exist for me anymore. This is Richard Wright. A very short excerpt in the beginning of Black Boy that tells you a little bit about Richard Wright, his uncle, the fact that he grew up in this time of struggle, time of poverty, that even at a very young age, when it was time for him to go, he decided to leave his shirt, his little something that he did have with his friends. So it goes to show that at a very early age that Richard Wright was a real human being, a man of high moral standing at a very early age. Once you read Black Boy, you will find this out more. And so what we hope to do today is to introduce you to Black Boy, not to read Black Boy to you, but to introduce you to it. So it is our hopes that when you leave here, that you will be inspired to read the book yourself and share it with your family members. Share it with the university, share it with your churches. Because again, Black Boy is one of those well-written books in history, written by one of the greatest writers in history. So that's why we're here today, to celebrate the 100th birthday of Richard Wright. And he, for a short period of time, lived here in the state of Arkansas, in the land of Arkansas. So again, I really want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. You know, I'm really enthused about to see so many young people. You know, let's give them a hand for doing that. Young people understand that you are going to be the torchbearers to carry this word, these words, this book, you know, to the next generation, to young people. You know, I want you to really check out Black Boy. Here in our galleries in the back, they have copies of the book, you know, that you can take with you. The libraries have copies, you know, but understand, again, today the program is to celebrate a true prodigy, a true genius, and again, to celebrate the most of anything, the power of the written word, and what the written word can do for you. Once you embrace it, and once you care about it. So again, thank you for coming out, and we have a wonderful program to share with you today. And our first presenter today is Brother Edmond Davis.
one person in particular, thank you, Dad. Patrick Oliver is now a friend of mine, was a mentor. I worked in his bookstore from junior high all the way through high school, and I was therefore able to take advantage of all the free books and bookstores don't get a lot of traffic. Not small, independently owned bookstores. So I had plenty of time to read, and I appreciate that. And also Dr. Patricia McGraw-Pata, who taught my mother in college, introduced me to a lot of the other aspects of Black cultural literature. And I'd also just like to pay special recognition to Mr. Crenshaw, and I have something to tell you. Mr. Crenshaw was a Tuskegee last month. Mr. Crenshaw, one of the original Tuskegee Airmen. Richard Wright's black boy. Richard Wright grew up at a time that can only be charitably called turbulent, harsh, and just to put it mildly, just hard in general. Richard Wright knew hunger. Richard Wright knew the pain of hunger. Richard Wright knew at a very young age thoughts that only come from being hungry. Richard Wright's childhood is not something that I was necessarily, not what I grew up with, and not how I grew up. So it's hard for me to grasp at the age of 13 the brutality of a young person's life. But I mean, then you think about the time that Richard Wright grew up. We're talking about 16 years after the passage of Plessy versus Ferguson decision. We're talking about him living in Elaine, Arkansas, only years before the Elaine race riots. Several unionized sharecroppers were killed by the government. And I don't know, learning those things, getting some of the historical context of the book, I guess kind of, shifted my view on who Richard Wright was. I always kind of felt as a young person that Richard Wright was a really sad person who hated being black, and he was self-loathing. This is, me as a young person, even up through college, and I was fortunate to kind of get some new perspectives on who Richard Wright was and his significance. We've got two excerpts, and I'm talking about Richard Wright and trying to draw a parallel, trying very hard to draw a parallel between Richard Wright and thank you so much for being patient. Draw a parallel between Richard Wright and in his teen years, and some of the things that a lot of teens deal with today.
My body told me I was damned if he was going to heal me. I was working, eating my meals out, buying my own clothes, giving what few pennies I could to bring to help out in the house. And now a strange uncle was going to teach me to grind. Hanging my head, mumble, apologetically when I was spoken to. My sinuses cried and protest no, they cannot be.
And that's from a scene where one of several scenes where Richard Wright described being beaten by members of his own family. And this is an uncle who moved in with them, and his uncle immediately began to try to, kind of put his authority off on Richard. And the reason I think that excerpt is because, like I said, I had to kind of really stretch because I think Wright's childhood was so brutal. I couldn't really find, any really direct correlation to any of the kids that I deal with on a regular basis, having even taught in alternative schools and working with the so-called, disadvantaged. But Richard Wright is talking about it and how, here's this guy, he's coming to this household. I'm out here working, buying my own food, being a man at the age of 14, and this man is coming in here and he wants to put his hands on me. And, he wasn't going for it. And, I think about some of the kids I've had in class who are defiant, and I think about the fact that these kids are out here in the world on their own. And I might be drawing a picture too starkly, but in many ways, these kids are in the world on their own, they're out there, and